Nights at Walmart are never the same as the last. Sometimes, my shift is so slow and boring that I'm struggling to stay awake. Other nights, it's a non-stop barrage of helpless customers, loiterers, shoplifters, and crackheads. The only thing that makes it any easier are my coworkers. Not long ago, an especially good friend of mine still worked here. Josie was the best part of any shift. Night by night, we were slowly becoming more than friends. Of course, that meant our managers made sure we rarely ever saw each other. The way they'd put us at opposite ends of the store. I guess they didn't want two of their best employees to accidentally find happiness together. But that's beside the point. One night, Josie and I were working the same shift, but as usual, not together. I had to help man the self-checkout area, and Josie was holding down the clothing department by herself. It was late, enough for a bit of excitement to start building up in my stomach. Not only would I be home in a couple of hours, but the fitting rooms were closing any minute, which meant Josie might be free to come help near checkout as the last of the customers left the store. However, I momentarily forgot where I worked. Walmart, a place in which even a fleeting moment of joy is easily destroyed. I had just finished checking someone's receipt, making sure they correctly scanned in their 8 cases of diet soda, when I waved them on and looked toward the entrance to see an unsavory sight. A large, sweaty, shirtless man was clobbering his way into the store. He didn't actually run into anybody, but he looked like he was either on something or off his rocker completely. Still, I had to step away from my station and tell him something important. Sir, stop! You can't be in here half naked. You have to put a shirt on. I'm going to buy a shirt right now, dumbass. Mind your business. I didn't feel there was much of a choice for me but to let him slide. The guy was way bigger than me, so I didn't want any trouble. Reluctantly, I returned to the self-checkout area, trying to focus on the people there. I was at work. I didn't need to be a hero or anything. I just had to do what I was supposed to do and let the people in the clothing department handle that guy. A few seconds too late, it hit me. Josie was running the clothing department, alone! And right as I had the realization, I heard Josie scream. I immediately made a break for it, running as fast as I could. I got to the clothing department seconds later, but I didn't get there in time. I didn't save Josie. All I managed to do was to get there just to be able to watch as that freak. He had this giant red knife in his hand from God knows where. He grabbed Josie and stabbed her. I saw the life drain from her eyes as she collapsed. The man fell on top of her, pulling the knife out just to take it into both hands and plunge it straight down, right through the center of her neck. I thought I must be having a nightmare, a hallucination, something. It couldn't be real. It all happened in 5 or 6 seconds, and just like that, Josie was dead. Even if I hadn't been frozen in shock, I couldn't have stopped him. No one could have. That man was a monster. And then he craned his neck back to look at me, his face and mouth soaked in Josie's blood, his eyes full of such pure evil. They couldn't have been human. Why? She wouldn't stop following me. Now why can't you just leave me alone? The man started coming toward me. I wanted to stand there and fight him or die and join Josie, but I was too afraid. My instincts took over and I ran like a coward. I could barely breathe through the tears, and somehow, that man was way faster than he should have been. A few more seconds, and he might have caught up and granted my wish. But at the last second, I realized I was running straight for a bunch of cops. I panicked and ducked, tripping over myself and sliding across the floor. The next instant, I heard a gunshot. A bullet flew right over my head. It made my ears ring, but when I could hear again, I heard the clicking of what I realized was a taser. I looked back and saw the man collapsed and rigid on the floor not far from me, as the electricity coursed through his body. Too little, too late for some, but it was enough to help the cops arrest him and put a stop to the madness. Later, we found out the man had stolen a knife from the nearby Walgreens. The cops showed up so early because they were already looking for him, but they didn't expect the theft to turn into what it did. According to the police, the man said he killed Josie because he thought she was some sort of demon, something that had been stalking him for weeks, tormenting him. I knew it had to be madness. No sane individual would mistake Josie for a demon. No decent person would ever take her away from this world, away from me. A Walmart employee in Arkansas was taken out by a man who allegedly told authorities that he was being stalked by a demon. Around 10:58 p.m., officers were dispatched to a report of a man stabbing a woman inside the store. Officers arrived and encountered 37-year-old Cedric Ross, who was still armed with a knife. During the encounter, officers gave Ross multiple commands to drop the weapon, but he did not comply and came toward an officer while still armed. In response, one officer fired one shot, but missed. Another officer then used a taser, and Ross was eventually taken into custody. The victim, Jordan Drinkwater, 32, died at the scene from her injuries. During the investigation, Ross allegedly told law enforcement that he had stolen a large knife from Walgreens before the attack and a machete from Walmart for protection because he said a demon was stalking him. He described the demon as a light-skinned black woman with brown eyes and a weave whom he had only seen at a distance. While at Walmart, he said he allegedly grabbed the demon and began stabbing it in the neck and shoulder in an attempt to kill it. However, after the stabbing, he looked down and realized that the victim on the ground was not the demon he thought he had saw. Authorities said Ross was not employed by Walmart and was not known to Drinkwater and had no interaction with her before the attack. Ross is being held without bond and charged accordingly. My wife and I have 2 kids together who just recently hit the age where they can appreciate fireworks. Up until now, the loud noises only scared them and made them cry. But this year, it was a major fear they wanted to conquer, sort of like a big roller coaster. Of course, for our kids' first clear memories of fireworks, it was better for them to experience something a bit more organized and more artfully inspired than a bunch of drunk aunts and uncles launching mortars at each other at a family gathering. With that in mind, we took a trip to the beach. The town there puts on a yearly fireworks show at sundown. The show was a little disappointing for us adults, but more than enough bright colors and explosions for the kids. Unfortunately, the difficult part of the night came on the walk back to the car. Somewhere along the way, I must have stopped paying attention to the streets and slipped into a sketchy area. We kept hearing and seeing smaller fireworks going off all around us. Just regular people shooting off whatever they had like anywhere else in the country does when the big show is done. Eventually, I heard an entirely different sound cut through the air, right to us. Somebody was shouting, trying to get our attention. I couldn't tell why at first, but once I laid eyes on the guy who was shouting at us, it became clear. On the other side of the street, a pale white dude with a shaved head was saying something obscene. My daughter saw him and said he was waving at us, but I didn't know how to explain to her that the way his arm was stuck straight out, that it was really a salute we did not want to see. Crowded behind him on the lawn were 5 or 6 other men, also with shaved heads and wearing some kind of makeshift uniform, covered in vulgar patches with weapons holstered all over them. I'd seen their kind of outfit before, but never this close, and never with their attention focused entirely on me. I told my family to look away and pick up the pace, trying to hide the terror in my voice. Our kids were confused, but my wife was already picking up our son, and I was getting ready to grab my daughter if I had to. Unsatisfied with us, the leader shouted at us to come back, and when we didn't, him and his followers crossed the street and started to quickly close the gap. I knew then that we weren't getting out of this unscathed. Soon, the men crossed in front of us and forced us to stop. We were surrounded. If there was any tiny chance of escaping without a fight, this was my last opportunity to make it happen.
Is there a problem, sir?
Don't you idiots know it's not safe to be here after sundown?
No, I was not aware, but we were already leaving.
You come around here from that cesspool you call a city and muck up our town, trying to multiply and mooch off us.
Sir, I promise we will leave your town and immediately go home, as long as you let us go.
Is that right? Well, allow us to make sure you run plenty far enough, huh?
Without explaining what he meant, the man stepped aside, clearing the path, but at the same time, the men surrounding us didn't budge. They did the opposite, clenching us in, forcing us to go out the opening. It was the direction we were headed from the start, but suddenly, especially with the smirk on that man's face as he waved us on, going that way didn't seem like something we wanted to do. On the other hand, we didn't have a choice. I led us forward, carefully guarding my daughter. My wife followed with our son in her arms. We made it out of the circle. away from the gang about 20 feet, when all of a sudden, I heard something. A fuse? Who would be lighting fireworks right now? Then it hit me. They were pointed at us. I shouted at my family to run, but before we could move, there was an explosion. It blinded us, deafened us. All I saw was a bright light, then nothing, and just raging in my ears. I could still feel my daughter's hand, but barely. I picked her up, hoping my wife would do the same as I did. Then I kept running blindly. I couldn't even see the ground at my feet, but I knew I couldn't stay still. Those men shot a goddamn bomb at us. I didn't want to find out what else they would do while we reeled from the shockwave. After what felt like an eternity, I slowly regained my hearing and vision, but nothing was quite the same. My wife was nowhere to be seen. I feared the worst. My stomach dropped and twisted, but I pushed the thought out of my head. I had to stay focused and get help. No longer knew where I was, but I had my phone, so I could still call the police. Thankfully, within an hour, my family was reunited. My wife and son hadn't been captured. The men who assaulted us and shot fireworks at us were arrested, but released the same day. It gave us just enough time to leave without being followed. Those men are still free, and I don't doubt they will take pleasure in traumatizing another innocent black family the next chance they get. Several men were arrested after police say they taunted a family by yelling racial slurs and using racial salutes during a 4th of July incident in an Oregon beach town. The men challenged the police to a fight when the officers arrived and set off fireworks that were banned. They were arrested on suspicion of charges including riot, disorderly conduct, interfering with police, and possession of illegal fireworks. The men arrested were Gennady Kechnikov, Anatoly Kechnikov, Audrey Kastev, Oleg Saranchuk, Ruslan Takechniko, and Yurly Kachenkov. A 7th man refused to identify himself, police said. They were cited and arrested. The night began just like any other night spent working at Walmart. I was already looking forward to leaving. I kept dragging myself through the shift on the promise I made to myself that I'd get utterly wasted the second I got home. I know that's a very unhealthy coping mechanism, but it will become obvious why it's become my method of choice for unwinding after a long day of work. At around 10 p.m., a particular woman walked through the front entrance. She didn't grab a cart or a basket, nor did she seem capable of doing so. She had that telltale twitch of a tweaker. I couldn't tell what kind of drug she was on, just that she was on it. To try and ease the tension, I gave her the best customer service late night Walmart has to offer.
Welcome in, ma'am. Can I help you find anything?
Oh, find your nutsack and suck on it!
Okay.
Failing to reach the woman on a personal level, I began treating her like a shoplifting suspect. She was clearly too deranged to be left to wander around on her own, especially since we were short-staffed. I had a feeling the police would need to get involved if we had to remove her from the store. She was in her own world. To be honest, I was curious what she would even go for. It gets boring at night, and sometimes I like to play a little guessing game. What are the freaks going to steal this time? Food, tampons, deodorant? I've even seen them go for adult diapers a couple times. Turns out, I was wrong in every regard. She wasn't trying to steal anything. She crept all the way over to the bakery, where she stared at the bread shelf for several minutes. She looked over her shoulder, but she must have been too nearsighted to see me, as I wasn't even trying to hide. Then, she started digging through her hair. I rolled my eyes, thinking she probably had lice or something, but she pulled something out, something much larger than a bug, yet still too small for me to identify. She didn't stash it on her person like merchandise though. With sudden dexterity, she opened a bread bag and inserted whatever it was between 2 slices of a loaf. I wasn't sure what I was seeing. The corporate drone in my brain couldn't compute. She wasn't stealing. She was adding to the shelves. I had to see it happen again to make sure I wasn't going crazy and seeing life playing out in reverse. A few seconds later, she reached into her pants. I was certain there was nothing in her hand before it went in, but when it came out, she had something small and grayish brown. I still couldn't tell what it was, though I clearly saw her stick it into another loaf of bread, so I knew it was time to ask her what she was up to. I didn't want to confront her like a security guard. I just wanted to begin the process of getting her out. I didn't realize how quickly things would escalate.
Excuse me, miss? I couldn't help but notice you just put something in that bread. Would you mind telling me what it was?
No, you didn't see anything. Please don't tell anyone. I have to do this.
I'm sorry, but you actually can't do that, and I will have to ask you to leave.
And if I don't?
Then I'll be forced to call the police.
Okay. You wanna know what I put in there?
Yes, I do.
Take a good look.
Out of nowhere, that bitch pulled out a rusty razor blade and slashed my arm. If I hadn't blocked, it would have gone straight to my face. But that didn't stop her from trying to cut my eye out. She lunged at me, swiping that razor through the air. Then she jumped on top of me. I fell back, smacking my head on the ground. I was focusing everything on trying to keep her from getting me with the razor, but I still felt it slicing through me all over my body. I was screaming for help and trying to keep my mouth shut at the same time, so she didn't shove it down my throat. After what felt like forever, I finally felt her weight get pulled off. She howled and shrieked as my coworkers worked together with all their collective power to restrain her. Even some customers came to help. It took everyone to rein her in. The cops came very soon after and locked her in handcuffs. Upon investigation, it was discovered that psycho woman had been stuffing razor blades into pastries and loaves of bread all night. Not just at my store, but at several other Walmarts in the area too. That's what those things she had stashed in every crevice of her body were. Rusty razor blades. I don't know what in her insane mind possessed her to do such a thing, but I don't think I'm capable of understanding. As for the fallout, the regional manager threw out everything in the bakeries made that day and sent out a message to the public warning all customers to do the same with whatever they had purchased. Luckily, nobody bit into any rusty razor blades because of that woman. As for myself, well, she didn't hit any major arteries. I got stitched up and poked with a dozen booster shots for tetanus and hepatitis A through Z, and whatever else she might have been carrying. I'm getting my blood work done again soon to see if I've been infected. Police in Mississippi have arrested 33-year-old Camille Benson after razor blades were found hidden inside loaves of bread and other baked goods at 2 Walmart stores in Biloxi. Authorities charged her with attempted mayhem and set her bond at $100,000 after customers reported finding the sharp objects in bread purchased from both a Walmart supermarket and a Walmart neighborhood market. Surveillance footage and police statements led to her arrest on December 16th. And Walmart said it removed and inspected all potentially infected products at the impacted locations. No injuries have been reported, but police urged anyone who bought affected items to check with them carefully and report any concerns. There's nothing more dangerous to a woman than a man and his friend. I met Bruno in the summer of 2008. He was a goalkeeper for my country's football team. I was drawn in by his talents and his looks, but I fell in love with his words, his lies. He promised me the world. In 2009, 2 incredible things happened just days apart. For Bruno, his career was about to reach new heights, as he was officially slated to be the starting keeper for the World Cup. For me, my life was about to change forever. I found out I was pregnant. For a few weeks, I was on top of the world. Bruno promised to marry me. I would be a queen, married to a king, carrying a king's child. But then Bruno disappeared, not from the world, but from me. He claimed to know I had cheated on him, that the baby wasn't his, and before I could prove him wrong, he was gone. Day after day, I still saw him on TV, taking interviews with his team, but I never heard from him, nor could I reach him. The only response I got was a threatening letter from his security team, ordering me to stop contacting Bruno. But without a doubt, I knew the baby was his. I had never been with anyone but him. I wasn't going to let him run from this. If he didn't want to be with me, I could handle that heartbreak. But his child didn't deserve to be a bastard. Months later, Bruno's son was born. I thought then that there could be a chance to prove I was right. Bruno would undoubtedly earn millions, and for just a fraction of that money, we would never have to worry about a thing. All I had to do was get Bruno to agree to a paternity test. However, we came to an agreement sort of under the table. Bruno said he wouldn't take the test unless I agreed to meet him somewhere off the record, under his own circumstances. I wasn't sure what he wanted. He said he just wanted to talk, but we couldn't be seen together by the public. It would hurt his image if the media caught wind of the scandal. Then they would find out about me, then the boy. Bruno told me to drive out to his family ranch in the countryside. He wanted to meet late at night, when nobody would be watching his home for visitors. I wanted to get it over with. This was going to be my first time I had seen Bruno in over a year. The rest of my life, our son's life, was riding on this encounter.
You better be home, asshole.
Down! Down! Down!
Thank you.
Sorry about Tina here. She's just protection. You can never be too careful these days.
Yeah, I get it. It's fine. Can I come inside so we can talk?
Of course, of course. Take a seat.
You sure have a lot of guard dogs.
Like I said, you can never be too careful.
Right, look, I brought the test. After we talk, I can just leave it here, and you can take it and mail it back whenever you want.
Oh, that? No, I'm not taking that.
What? You promised!
I'm not stupid. I know those things are no different from you. All they do is lie. They're full of different man's seed every day. You'll forge the results to say whatever you want them to. So, I'm not taking it.
That's ridiculous! Why even drag me all the way out here?
So you know I'm serious when I tell you for the last time that it's over.
No, you piece of shit! You can't do this to me!
Shut up! Shut your whore mouth and listen! You're gonna leave that test here, then go away and never come back. Never contact me, never talk about me to anyone. Is that finally clear to you?
No! You will not do this to your son! You will take this test and own up
Tina! Kill! Shut her up.
Bruno was a star Brazilian goalkeeper, tipped to play for his country at the 2014 FIFA World Cup. In 2010, he ordered the brutal kidnapping and murder of his former girlfriend, Eliza Samudio. Her remains were later fed to dogs to hide the evidence. He was sentenced to over 22 years in prison, entirely derailing his career right before the tournament. Bruno, his lover, and his ex-wife were among 9 people charged with the torturing and murdering of Samudio, who had been trying to prove Bruno was the father of her son. Samudio's body was never found, but the goalkeeper's cousin told the court Samudio had been demanding child support payments, which most likely caused Bruno to snap and do what he did.
Last Independence Day, the whole family came to my house. The 4th was a Friday, so quite a few of them, specifically the older relatives, were staying the night. Admittedly, I was a little overwhelmed by hosting such a large number of people. I wanted my daughter to get out and catch up with her family, but she was too old to have fun with her little cousins, and still too young to hang out with grown-ups, so I could tell she was feeling a bit like an outcast. However, I had a trick up my sleeve. Something to be the defining factor of the night. My trick, of course, was the illegal fireworks. I crossed state lines and blew a downright stupid amount of money to get an insane array of the biggest, craziest fireworks I could possibly get my hands on. In the days leading up to the 4th, I did some research on the best way to line up multiple rockets for an impressive extended volley that would last at least a whole minute. Unfortunately, I didn't have quite the audience I wanted. By the time it got dark, the old folks had gone to bed. Even my daughter was fed up with the evening. She had been hiding out in her bedroom for a couple hours already. Despite all the setbacks, I got to work. With everyone watching, I lit the master fuse, then took some big steps back. A few seconds later, the first rocket went off perfectly. Everyone cheered. this was all going to go just right. Then, the fountain started. They were meant to work together with the next few mortars as a build-up to the first big one, but something unexpected happened. Among the cascade of blinding, colorful lights flying off in every direction from the base of the display, some sparks ended up spraying straight down to the ground, right under the rest of the fuses. I watched, unable to force myself to rush through the barrage of fireworks to stamp out the errant fuses, as several lit up out of order. They snaked across the ground, camouflaged by the fountains, with everyone waiting for the next explosion in the sky. Nobody but me knew what was coming. Suddenly, multiple rockets shot into the sky at once. I braced for impact right as the explosions went off, just milliseconds apart. The sound was deafening, and the shockwave sent more sparks flying across the ground and into the crowd, setting off a chain reaction. Every single rocket, big, small, and nuclear, blew up in our faces within the span of just 15 seconds. It was supposed to go on for several minutes, but the malfunction sped it all up in a fraction of that time. My ears were ringing. There were streaks of blindness in my vision. The smoke was almost suffocating. I expected to be berated and humiliated as soon as the dust cleared. But then I heard applause, cheering. People rushed to me with smiles on their faces, exulting me for the best fireworks show they'd ever experienced in their lives. They loved it.
Dude, that was awesome! How did you do that? What did you say?
I'm sure they would have been impressed had things gone to plan, but the mishap turned out to be a happy accident. From what I could hear, everyone seemed to think that's what I meant to do from the start. How else could I react but to play like that was the truth? After struggling all day to make everyone happy, I finally succeeded. The first thing we all noticed was a shift in the smell of the smoke. It went from the sulfuric stench of gunpowder to a toxic mixture of wood, plastic, and chemicals. Then, we finally saw the black smoke emanating from the house. The fireworks had set the house on fire. Immediately my pride turned into a mountain of guilt. I had to do something. That was my house, my family. I rushed in through the garage and burst through the back door. The smoke had already filled the hall, but I could still get through. I heard cries for help as the sound of cracking began to multiply in every wall around me. I called out to them and chased down their voices, finding the first people in the bathroom and guiding them out the way I came. I couldn't even recognize them, and I didn't know who else was still inside, but I knew the house was still occupied. I went back in, determined to save each and every person I put in harm's way, but the smoke was too thick. It forced me out. I just couldn't breathe anymore. I turned around while I still had the chance, still knowing there were people inside. By the time the firefighters came just a few minutes later, the house had transformed from a chimney to an inferno. The creeping fire finally emerged from its shroud of smoke and engulfed the entire house. The heat was too intense to even be near it. Hours later, when the fire was finally put out, they began to search the wreckage. The bodies of several of my family members were found, charred nearly beyond recognition. Most of them were older folks who had gone to bed around 8 p.m., but among them was my only daughter. Every 4th of July, for the rest of my miserable life, I'll remember how my carelessness cut my daughter's life far too short. A 13-year-old girl was one of 2 people killed when July 4th fireworks sparked a huge blaze in her Midwest home just 2 weeks after she beat cancer. Jerry Lynn Brown had just rung the bell as she finally left the hospital late last month after a 2-year battle with osteosarcoma, a form of bone cancer. She died on the 4th of July when smoldering debris from fireworks the night before ignited at the back of her family's home in Independence, Missouri, engulfing it in flames around 5:30 a.m. The second person, 52-year-old Mark Anthony Young Sr., died Sunday after fighting for his life for almost 3 days from injuries in the fire. Jerry Lynn's mom, Liz Stevens, remains in the hospital, fighting for her life after being severely burned. Let it be said, however, that my lack of success in the dating world is not for a lack of trying. As a woman, and even more so as a cosplayer, I'm constantly inundated with DMs and public advances from the bolder nerds of the world. I ignore 99% of them, but I understand that lost among all those unsolicited pics and requests for lewd cosplay videos. At least 1 or 2 respectful messages from decent men are being overlooked. Maybe. In my ever-hopeful quest for a boyfriend, I recently came across a promising suitor, a fellow cosplayer by the name of Johnny. He didn't just say he was a cosplayer, he had proof. Pictures from multiple conventions as Ash Ketchum, Kakashi, and Edward Elric. He was nice too. We bonded over our shared interests in Pokemon. Our heated discussions about Pokemon turned into sending each other voice notes and having hour-long FaceTimes. Eventually, things went up a notch. Johnny started floating the idea of meeting in person. I wasn't completely opposed, but I was very hesitant. We were on a call one night, and as I was toying with the idea of meeting him, he made another suggestion. We could meet in cosplay. I said that would be a ridiculous waste of effort, to get into cosplay and not even go to a con. Johnny's eyes pierced my soul as I realized what he was suggesting. I felt a rush of conflicting emotions and intense feelings. This wasn't just a meeting between friends. This was a date, and more than just a date. This was a hookup. Johnny said he would be Ash, and I could become his favorite character, Misty. I was still processing it. I had been imagining our meetup as something a tad more tasteful, something either totally platonic or slow and romantic. However, it had been a while since I had any action, long enough to make stupid, rash decisions. Once I decided I was going to do it, I didn't want to wait. I asked Johnny if I could come over to his place that night as he didn't have any roommates. He agreed. I told him to get ready. Then I hung up and started putting Misty together. The whole time, I had this nagging voice in my head telling me not to go through with it for 100 different reasons, but I kept silencing them. What was so wrong with doing something out of character once in a while? Why not live a little? On the way to Johnny's, my heart was pounding. I was so nervous I was getting a headache and sweating through my deodorant. This was dumb. This was so stupid. I knew I should have banged a U-turn instead of some random guy I met on the internet. But I was already there, parked in front of his apartment. I still could have left right then. I could have ghosted him. I could have gone home and cleared my head, then got on with my life. I could have, but I didn't.
Hey, Misty.
Jeez, what's wrong with you? Who opens the door like that?
What are you waiting for? Come on in.
Whoa, stop! I didn't say you could touch me yet, asshole. I'm this close to leaving already.
No, don't run away. I can still catch you. Aw, damn it, I missed.
Johnny, stop this bullshit right now! I get that you're excited, but you need to take this whole Ash Ketchum thing and tone it down a notch. Just treat me like a human being. You know, like you've been doing on the phone?
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Now, maybe we can just take a few minutes to reset, then try this all over again. I know Ash is technically the main character, but Misty is usually the more hot-headed one, so why don't we let me take control?
I have a better idea. You can shake all you want, but in a few more seconds, you'll be mine forever. Yeah, just like that.
Hey, snap out of it. Stop daydreaming and tell me what happened to the girl. How'd she die?
It was an accident, I swear. She said, choke me, so I did. She wanted it, I'm telling the truth. I just went too hard.
You really expect me to believe that after you sat there creaming your pants and smiling like a junkie while you thought about what you did to her? She didn't ask for it. You did it. You're still getting off on it, you sick freak!
Yeah, you're right. Who am I kidding?
Johnny Vandenbroek, 28, accused of taking out Shashia Moreau, 20, in what was dubbed the Pokemon murder, was sentenced to life imprisonment. Vandenbroek took out his victim with a special collar which he used during S&M intercourse. He lured Moreau to his apartment with the promise of trading Pokemon figures. However, his goal was to experience an extreme fantasy which ended up turning fatal. Vandenbroek admitted he had strangled her during intercourse, which he claimed was consensual. However, the jury called that story completely unbelievable. Based on Shashia's personality profile and the many testimonies, it is impossible that she would agree to do anything with Vandenbroek. Earlier in the trial, Psychiatrists appointed by the court called Van den Broek a ticking time bomb, showcasing characteristics of a psychopath.
Anyone who knows me knows I am Ronaldo's biggest fan in the world. I've been called obsessed. I own that with pride. Ever since I've been famous enough to afford the tickets, I've been to every one of Ronaldo's games. I wouldn't miss a game even if my girl was about to give birth. A bitch is just a bitch, but Ronaldo is irreplaceable. He's one of one, the best to ever do it. Aside from tickets and travel expenses, a good chunk of my sizable income goes to collecting all the little pieces of Ronaldo I can. All his posters, merchandise, jerseys, everything he signs. It has to be mine, and it has to go in the shrine. I used to let chat see the Ronaldo shrine, but they don't deserve it anymore. They don't understand. They call it crazy and creepy. Now, it stays my own private place where I can go to be alone with Ronaldo. It's the one place I feel most connected to him. Sometimes, that still doesn't feel like enough. I always want to be closer. I met him once before, but the interaction was so short, so impersonal. I don't feel like we really met as individuals. I'm sure if we ran into each other again, we would actually click. It's just impossible to find out where that man will be at any given moment. Except that's not true. Whenever he has a game, I'll know exactly where he's going to be and how long he will be there. The only problem is getting close to him. Due to my heightened mental state during our first meeting, his security has remained equally heightened. Trying to intercept him before or after the game is hopeless. My only chance is during the game. That would make me a streaker. Not that I would have a problem with that. I've lit off fireworks in my bedroom, backflipped onto desks with $10,000 setups, and tumbled down a cliff chasing after a cheese wheel. Drinking at a football game is totally on brand for me. So, the plans were made. Chat knew what was about to happen, but they kept the secret for me, giving me another chance to meet my idol. My camera crew would be right there with me, every step of the way, and we bought front row tickets to make the run-up as short as possible. Even with all my preparations, I had nightmares about the whole thing. Crippling anxiety, the kind where the only cure is to get up and go through with the damn thing. When the night finally came, the stadium was electric. This wasn't some dingy parking garage like last time. Millions would be watching our meeting. This night would go down in history as the moment when two greats combined forces. All that was left to do was wait for a lull.
Go time! Let's go! Let's go! Oh shit! Keep up, bro! Everyone, out of the way! There he is! Ronaldo! Ronaldo! Ronaldo, it's me! Ronaldo! Ronaldo! It's me, Speed! Do you remember me? You embarrassing, clout-chasing imbeciles! You'll pay for stepping on my pitch! Oh shit! I'm sorry! We're sorry! Dude, run! Ah! Please! I'm sorry. We didn't understand. We'll never do it again.
All that was left to do was wait for a lull. Ronaldo. Something must have happened to him. He must have been possessed or something. I don't know. But he wasn't the Ronaldo I knew and loved. He ate my best camera guy. I ran like hell. I hid and disguised myself among the crowds, sneaking my way back through the airport, getting home hours later, exhausted from constantly checking over my shoulder. I managed to get back into my house without Ronaldo following me, looking forward to climbing into bed. I pulled the sheets over my face and shut my eyes, hoping I would wake up the next day, and this would all just be another nightmare. But I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, flipped my bed around every which way, shutting and opening my eyes over and over again, begging to see the morning light. Instead, I saw him.
No way. You're not real. You're just seeing things. He's not really there. Ah! Get away from me, demon! You're not the real Ronaldo! I hate you! Go back to hell! Just go to sleep, demon. Just go to sleep. When I look out from under these covers again, you better not be there! Whoever you are, I'll shoot! Ronaldo?
It was the middle of summer break. School was out, and I didn't have any worries or responsibilities other than a few chores here and there. It was the year of 2012. Life was good. After spending the whole day hanging out with my friend, I went home for the evening. My whole family was there. My sisters, brothers, my mom and her best friends. A full house. Plenty of pizza and soda to go around for all the kids. And I can't forget the best part. It was the one day of the year we got to mess around with fireworks. As it got late, everybody was still hanging out, either watching TV in the living room or standing around in the kitchen. Another hour or so and all the kids probably would have gone to bed. But at that moment, even my youngest sibling, my little brother, was still staying up past his bedtime. Then, someone knocked on the door. I didn't think it was weird, but as my mom walked over to answer it, I remember her saying something about how we weren't expecting any more guests. My mother opened the door, then began to say something. Whatever she meant to say, it was cut short after just a few syllables. She went silent like somebody had put a hand over her mouth. I heard what sounded like a stampede of people barging into the house, and when I finally looked over, I saw 3 masked men charging at us. The next moments were sheer chaos. Everyone was screaming. The men pulled out guns and pointed them at our heads, rounding us up, separating the kids from adults. My mom and her friends were taken away, dragged into the kitchen as they screamed and begged for it to stop. Before I could comprehend what was happening, the 3rd masked man ripped me off the couch. He waved a gun around at me and my siblings, ordering us all to get in one group by the TV. I was the oldest, but I didn't have the nerve to act brave or tough in front of anyone. Only one of the men was watching us, but because of that gun in his hand, we all did what he said without hesitation. Around the corner, the other 2 gunmen had forced the adults of the house, my mother and her 2 friends, into the kitchen. I could hear them fighting over something. Where's the money? Give it up before I blow her brains out.
No, please don't! We don't have any money, I swear to God!
Don't lie to me. I know it's here. Where are you hiding it?
There's no money! You gotta believe me!
You want to watch your friend die? You want to be next?
No!
We couldn't take it. It was too much. We were all fighting to keep it together, but for my little brother, it was too much. At the height of everything, he burst into tears. He couldn't stop. He was screaming and wailing, trying to hold it in. Within seconds, the thug that was watching us descended upon my brother, started screaming in his face, pointing the barrel of the gun right against my little brother's eye socket, threatening to pull the trigger if he didn't shut up. My other sibling shrunk and began to cry as well. It was a domino effect of the worst kind. The men in the kitchen were shouting at their accomplice to handle his end of things, to handle us. But he was struggling. He was a criminal, not a father or a babysitter. Just then, I realized he wasn't even looking at me. Before, I didn't have the slightest bit of willpower to do anything but obey. I had been too scared to do anything risky, hoping and praying that this would somehow just end. But at that moment, I knew I had to do something. My heart started pounding in my chest. My entire body felt like it was going to float away with all the adrenaline in my blood. I moved slowly at first, getting to my feet and inching my way out of the gunman's peripheral. My siblings' eyes were on me, as well as all their hopes for survival. Back on my feet, I took one look back at them, then I ran. I sprinted. My feet barely touched the ground. I flew through the house like a silent gust of wind, then blew out the back door and I was free. I kept running, knowing I'd start to hear the men shouting and chasing after me, or worse, gunshots. But I made it all the way to the old snow cone stand on the corner and didn't hear a thing. There, I finally stopped to breathe, to think. I had a cell phone in my pocket. I'd only had it for a few months, since my 13th birthday party. It was about to save my entire family's lives. I picked up the phone, dialed 911, and just a few minutes later, I heard the sirens racing. They got to my house, put the gunmen in their place, and rescued my family. Afterwards, the news, as well as seemingly everyone in town, hailed me as some kind of hero. I didn't feel that way at all. A hero puts a stop to evil things. I just ran away and called for help, letting someone else handle it. Still, I know if things had gone down any differently, there's a good chance I'd be dead along with my entire family. I never forget that. That's all I think about on the 4th of July. I don't remember being a hero. I just remember the nightmare. A 13-year-old boy is being called a hero after saving his family from a violent home invasion on the 4th of July. The teen, along with his 3-year-old cousin, his mother, and 3 other women were inside a home when 3 armed men broke in. They said they wanted the money, and I'm thinking, what money? I don't have any money, said the teen's mother, who did not want to be identified. Police say the woman's 13-year-old son sprang into action. He ran down the stairs and out of a back door, and went to a nearby water ice stand parking lot to call police, using a cell phone he borrowed from a stranger. Having no idea if her son was okay, the woman says she prayed for help. Seconds later, police kicked in the front door. If not for my son, we probably would not be alive. I don't think they had any intention of letting us live, said the woman. Police say the alleged gunmen didn't put up much of a fight and were quickly arrested. The suspects were Dominique Avery, Daryl Sanders, and Gerald Whitaker. As for the woman involved in the terrifying ordeal, she's thankful to be alive and proud of her son. It all started with a shopping trip. I have to take my girlfriend on one every week or so and spend at least $100 on whatever she wants. The one silver lining of this shit show is that I never had to tap my card before it went down. Right as we walked through the doors of the first store, I spotted a certain type of guy engaged in typical behavior, a Pokemon scalper. The fat pedo-looking son of a bitch was face down, ass up, and shoulder deep in the vending machine. It was supposed to only give 1 random collectible per purchase, but greedy no-life scumbags like him were known for glitching the machine out by blocking the sensor, and getting it to spit out dozens of random collectibles basically for free. Literally, his entire butt crack was out and shining right at the front entrance as he buried his sausage-shaped arm into the dispenser. His gelatinous, unwashed body wiggled and jiggled around while he violated the internal workings of the machine to make sure nobody else in town could get a chance at a rare Pokemon. It made me sick. Unfortunately, while I knew better to say anything, my girlfriend caught on because I couldn't hide the disgust on my face. She also knew exactly what he was doing, and it sent her into a rage instantaneously. Before I could beg her to let it slide and worry about herself, she took it upon herself to intervene. At first, the only thing I could do was get out my phone and start recording. As soon as I hit record, my girlfriend raised her voice and called out the scalper. We approached him swiftly, but I should have known better not to bother. He definitely wasn't a runner. Once we got close, he stood and blocked us from looking at the machine, but his bag was right on the ground, overflowing with blind boxes. He had been at this for a while, yet nobody had been brave or stupid enough to stop him until now. My girlfriend immediately started throwing insults, calling him everything I had been thinking: fat, ugly, smelly, creepy, all that and more. But I tried to stay focused on the main issue. He was stealing. I said we had recorded him robbing the store, saying the police were already on their way, though that last part was a lie. The police would not care about this. I hoped that would be enough to scare him, but he stood his ground, claiming that he had done nothing wrong, then began lobbing his own insults right back at us. The phone got passed back and forth between me and my girlfriend as the scalper kept trying to snatch it. Suddenly, I saw what I thought would be my savior, the bright yellow uniform of a security guard. I called for his help, but so did the scalper. The guard came up to us, but looked absolutely at a loss, like he had no power to stop this. He was even smaller than me. He wouldn't have been able to fight either of us, let alone break up the fight, in what I'm assuming was a bid to save his own skin. The guard shouted at us to both leave the store. Then he started to run off. I couldn't believe it. This was his one job, and he refused to do it. Initially, I chased after him, but I only got a few steps. The moment I left any space around my girlfriend, that creep closed in on her. Things were going from bad to worse. I didn't want him to lay one fat finger on her, so I was left with no choice. I had to get physical, get in between them, and hope he gave up.
Hey, leave her alone! Just take all your shit and get out of here!
It's too late for that! You ruined my day and now I need a stress reliever!
What? You wanna kiss me? Is that it, creep?
Yeah! Come on, bend over! Let me show you who you really are!
Babe, back off!
Shut up!
Get back!
Suddenly, I couldn't hold myself back anymore, and I shoved that bastard as hard as I could. He went flying and stumbling back, nearly falling onto his ass, but then he caught himself, regained his footing, For a moment, I felt powerful. I put my arms up for a fight. Yet as that monster came barreling towards me, I knew I was in deep shit. I tried to stay in it, throwing a few jabs at his face. He took them like they were nothing, and then his fist came down like a hammer. The blow to my head sent me reeling, slamming into the vending machine. I could barely stand, hardly even breathe, but the fight was still going. I was dazed, unable to find any other way out of this other than through it. I went to throw another punch, but it was already over. Next thing I knew, he grabbed me. My head got pinned in a chokehold. He was crushing my neck as he buried my face in his armpit. I was gasping for air, but I couldn't get a breath. Just the body odor of a Pokemon scalper. The one who was beating my ass in public, right in front of my girlfriend, as she recorded the entire thing. I passed out, but when I woke up, I almost wished he had taken me out. The entire world witnessed the most humiliating moment of my life. I was just trying to protect my girlfriend from the fight she started, but I'm certain she'll leave me after watching me get bitched out by the biggest loser on Earth. A video involving an alleged Pokemon vending machine glitcher has sparked a heated debate across the hobby after a confrontation at the machine escalated beyond just words. Collectors claim the individual was exploiting the machine, which led to others confronting and recording him. The footage quickly spread online, but now the comments are becoming a battle of their own. Some collectors argue that if someone is allegedly glitching a machine, they deserve to be called out. Others believe that regardless of the glitching allegations, the confrontation crossed a line once things became physical. At this point, the community isn't even debating the glitching anymore. Working this dead-end job at Walmart, I have no desire to go above and beyond for my team, and I've already accumulated quite a few unpleasant memories that will stick with me for the rest of my life. Without a doubt, this is the worst one. It started on a Friday night. Barely anyone was around, but of course, that was merely false hope. Right at the end of stocking a shelf, I noticed a woman enter the aisle. I could tell she was looking at me, making her way toward me. The woman called out to me with a raspy and pitiful voice, forcing me to make eye contact.
Sir, can I please use your bathroom?
I'm sorry, but we already closed the bathrooms.
I know. I'm sorry, but it's an emergency. Can you unlock it for just a few minutes? I promise I'll leave before you close.
I mean, I could get into trouble.
Please, you gotta understand, this is the last chance I have to go somewhere that's safe. If I don't go now, I'll have to do it outside. And the last time I did that, I got attacked, and I just can't.
Okay, fine. You don't have to explain all that. Just follow me. The woman immediately began to thank me profusely, but I told her in the nicest way to save it. Helping her felt like the right thing to do, but it didn't make me feel good. Not wanting to be seen together by my co-workers, I quietly led her to a family restroom, one of the single-use ones. The woman entered the bathroom and locked herself inside. I walked away before anyone saw me. I didn't want to be associated with any potential incidents. Afterwards, I went back to what I was doing and continued my shift like nothing was out of the ordinary. Really, nothing was unusual. I finished stocking everything, helped clean up, then I left the store on schedule. When I got home, I briefly remembered the woman, realizing I hadn't actually made sure she left before the store closed. I didn't dwell on it though. I figured one of the managers had to have checked that bathroom on their final sweep and dealt with it. Unfortunately, the next day, I clocked in and noticed something disheartening after just a few minutes. The bathroom I had helped that lady into was closed off. There was an out of order sign right out front, and the door was locked. All at once, I felt a mix of emotions. I had made the mistake of taking pity on someone. I helped them out, and they took advantage of my kindness. They were probably spinning a sob story from the start. And for what? To do what every other junkie does? Lock themselves in the bathroom and get high? Despite my feelings, I did my best to forget about it, unless I got written up for it. The whole thing really was just a minor inconvenience. Someone, hopefully other than me, would get stuck with the dirty job of cleaning up after the mess. Then the bathroom would reopen, and it would be all par for the course for Walmart. However, an entire day passed, and nobody went in. Then another day. Finally, on Monday, it was me. I got stuck with it. Now, I was pissed. Half at this drug addict who lied to me, and half at myself for believing her. As I gathered some supplies before going in, I kept thinking about how I would probably get called into the office right afterward, shown the footage of me letting her in, then slapped with some stupid punishment. If only that were the case. No repercussions I imagined would have ever come close to the reality I was about to face. I was wholly and completely unprepared as I walked up to that door. I inserted the key and turned the lock with my guard entirely down. When I opened the door, as soon as it cracked, the foulest, most unforgettable stench hit my nose. If you've ever smelt it before, you know what I'm talking about. But this was my first time experiencing it, and I had no idea what I meant. I only hesitated for a moment before barging in. Swinging the door wide open, there was a dead person on the floor, a woman. The same scrawny, helpless girl I helped a few nights ago. She'd been trapped in there this whole time. Her body was bloated and leaking dark, festering fluids everywhere. I recoiled with every fiber of my being. I slammed the door shut, falling backwards away from the bathroom, and subsequently throwing up on myself out of pure shock. Suddenly, every bit of self-wallowing I'd been allowing myself was put into perspective. I didn't have a shitty life. That woman did. I was just a shitty person. Yet I'm still alive, and she met her end in a Walmart bathroom. The fact that the cause of her death was an overdose matters very little to me now. I was the last human face she ever saw, and all I wanted was to get her out of my sight. Surprisingly, I didn't face any charges, nor did I lose my job, but that doesn't alleviate the guilt. This incident occurred in June 2017 at a Walmart in Sand Springs, Oklahoma. Catherine Caraway, 29, was found deceased in a single-use family bathroom at the back of the store on a Monday afternoon. Surveillance video showed Caraway entering the restroom around 6 p.m. on Friday, meaning her body remained in the locked room for approximately 3 days. A Walmart employee tried to enter the locked bathroom on Friday, and assuming it was broken, placed an out-of-order sign on the door without checking inside. The body was discovered when the bathroom was finally unlocked on Monday. While police initially did not consider the death suspicious, a later autopsy indicated the cause was related to difluoroethane toxicity, often from huffing aerosol propellant. I've been collecting Pokemon cards for as long as I can remember. By the time I was adult with bills to pay, I had more than I could ever need, so I started selling them off. Despite what my dad told me a million times about how they'd all be worthless, the current market is more lucrative than ever. I used to think that was a good thing for me, but I couldn't have been more wrong. Every once in a while, there's a community event nearby. Those are the best places to buy and sell cards, so I make sure I never miss them. I pack a whole bag and set up a little cart with all the best cards I'm willing to sell. There are a handful I will never part with, but lots more that I'm willing to sell to people who want them more. At this particular event, I was hoping to make at least $500. That would be enough to make my life a lot easier for a few months, and tide me over until the next big market. However, as the hours dragged on into the evening, I was far from reaching my goal. There were just too many other vendors with better inventories this time around. Few people seemed interested in my meager selection compared to those giants. It showed me I had a long way to go before I could hope to quit my job and do anything like this full time. Then, just as I was about to pack up, a curious couple approached me. They were about my age, perhaps a little older, but very soft-spoken and hanging off each other like they had just started dating. After looking through my stuff for a bit, they hit me with an unbelievable proposition. They wanted to buy my entire stock. I told them that even with a bulk discount, what I carried to the market that day was easily worth at least $3,000. Their counteroffer was $2,500 in cold hard cash. Getting that huge sum of money and all at once and completely untaxed was too attractive to pass up, so I agreed to sell. Unfortunately, they were hesitant to go through with the transaction in public. I tried to be understanding. That's a lot of cash to hand over with all those people around. And Pokemon collectors had garnered a negative reputation involving theft and scalping. Then again, I just met these people. I didn't know if I could trust them, but I had only made a measly $50 for a full day's work. leaving me with little choice if I wanted this day to be worth my time. Reluctantly, I packed all my cards into my bag and began to follow them, leaving the card until I got back. They said their apartment was nearby. It turned out to be a 10-minute walk, which would be even easier on the way back, when I wasn't carrying all these cards. The apartment building itself, though, didn't fill me with confidence. It was dirty and neglected, with bars on the windows and a bunch of sketchy-looking people hanging around. But at least there were security cameras. I just had to hope they were working. Stepping inside the couple's apartment, things only got worse. They lived in a roach nest. No furniture, no decorations, just piles of garbage to lay in and mysterious stains on the walls. My skin crawled and my nose burned from the smell. But most of all, my stomach turned. Not with disgust alone, but with regret. I had been counting on these people having some amount of money to buy the cards like they promised. Even if they lived in a bad area, they could have been saving up, trying to start their own collection. But once I got close up and personal with how they lived, I knew I made a mistake. I felt the urge to leave right away, but as soon as I looked back at the door, the woman took my hand and begged me to stay.
Please, don't go. What about those cards? Can you guys even afford them?
What are you saying? Do you really think we don't have $2.50?
You're kidding me! $2.50?
Yeah, $2.50. How much could a bunch of kids' playing cards be worth?
We agreed on $2,500.
Baby, I think this bitch is trying to scam us.
Give me that bag! Hey, stop! Hands off! It's mine now! Let go! You're crazy! That's mine! Give it back! No! Don't bother. Get away from me! Get away!
All you had to do was hand it over, and you could have lived.
Coast is clear. Aren't you forgetting something?
God! This bitch is heavy.
Just hurry up.
A 20-year-old Pokemon card vendor, Dominique Camilla Orletegi Kespi, was taken out and robbed in San Diego, Chile, by a couple who lured her into a rented apartment under the false pretense of a card trade and a store opening. On March 12, 2026, Dominique, who was a well-known and active member of the local Pokemon trading card game community, met with Bastian Carvajal, an acquaintance from the local collecting scene. She was lured to an apartment where she was taken out. The suspect's primary motive was to steal her collection of Pokemon cards, which was reportedly worth between 3 and 6 million Chilean pesos. Security cameras showed Dominique entering the building, but only the male suspect leaving. The suspects were seen removing her carrying card of cards, and were caught on camera purchasing cleaning and disposal supplies. Following an extensive missing persons search sparked by her mother, police arrested Carvajal and his girlfriend. They faced charges of robbery with homicide. As of the ongoing investigation, authorities are still searching for her remains. "12 years ago, millions of people around the country were gathered around televisions with friends, foes, and families to watch us play Italy at the World Cup. I was at a bar, drinking alone. My Italian friend as well as my neighbor, Carlo, was supposed to meet me over an hour ago to get a few pints in before the match started, but it seemed he had abandoned me. Then, 30 minutes into the match, Carlo busts through the door. He was horribly out of breath, drenched in a mixture of rain, sweat, and, could it be tears? The game was still tied at 0. Ready to finally engage in our planned friendly rivalry, I immediately let him have it.
Carlo, you bastard! Where the hell have you been? Wait, don't tell me. Your wife found out about your secretary. Huh, sounds like I struck a nerve. Go! Let's go, Italy! Yeah! You gotta be kidding.
The moment Carlo showed up, Italy scored the first point. The room was dead quiet except for his screaming. I couldn't even remember what I had just been saying to him. Luckily, by the time he dried off, sat down and ordered a drink, England had evened things up. For the next 20 minutes or so, The game stayed tied, and conversation with Carlo remained awkward. Even his cheers as Italy scored again and began to carry the game to victory felt oddly forced.
This is the best football match ever! Woo! Well, you're entitled to your opinion, mate.
Before long, it became clear that England would lose. Despite his country winning, Carlo had caught up and seemed determined to keep drinking. He even offered to buy shots. I couldn't turn down a free drink, so I went in with him. But then one round of shots became two. By the third, I had to tap out. But Carlo was resolute. He continued to drink hard liquor on his own. As I watched with increasing concern, I was already too intoxicated to remember exactly how many he ended up drinking. A 6th or 7th shot was ordered, but that's when the bartender cut him off. He could barely stand. He grumbled some swears in Italian, almost like he wanted to fight, but couldn't manage to do it. The bartender gave me a sign, and I knew it was time for me to get my friend home. This was made slightly more convenient by the fact we lived next to each other, but it wouldn't exactly be easy. For one thing, I sure as hell wasn't driving, and I didn't think Carlo could even walk home. Somebody had to come pick him up.
This bar's trash. This whole island's trash. Carlo, you're sloshed, man. You gotta go home. I don't have a home. Come on, don't be a brat. You got a loving family, you bastard. A wife and kids, for God's sake. Call Danny or give me your phone, and I'll call her for you. Do not talk about her! Bring my family up again, and I'll kick your teeth out! Let go! I'm trying to help you, asshole! I'll cut you open! Right here! Right now! Get off! Fine, I don't need your help anyway. Crazy bastard. Hey, sorry about that. Go ahead and close my tab.
Carlo forgot his keys when he stormed out, but I knew he needed time to cool off. I figured if he made it home in one piece, his wife could let him in. Maybe 20 minutes later, I left the bar myself, stepping out into a drizzling, muggy night. I walked the same path that Carlo would have walked, half expecting to see him passed out in an alley at many points, but I never saw him. When I arrived home, I walked down to Carlo's door to give him his keys and smooth things over. There wasn't an answer when I rang the doorbell, so I decided to give it one last shot with the knocker, but then my hand ended up pushing the door open before I could grasp it. As the door slowly swung open, I thought Carlo must have drunkenly forgotten to make sure he closed it behind him. But then why didn't his wife shut it? Inside, all the lights were off. There should have been a drunk man, an angry wife, and 2 kids up past their bedtime in there. But instead, silence. A warm metallic odor hit my nose. Something was wrong. I called their names. Nothing. I had to go in and see for myself. I stepped through the door uninvited. Nobody was there to be frightened or chase me out. I only made it around the first corner before I found them all in the kitchen. Carlo's entire family, his wife and 2 children, had been slaughtered. Their bodies were cut open and their blood was splattered across every surface. And Carlo was nowhere to be found. I suddenly realized he had to have done this. I ran out of the house, screaming for help. I must have woken up the whole block. I could have simply called the police. But after seeing what was inside that house, how could anyone remain calm? Indeed, Carlos confessed to everything. Hanging out with me was meant to be his alibi for the crime, but the guilt must have completely broken his mind. Ever since then, the World Cup always makes me think of that night. An Italian man has been charged for taking out his wife and 2 children before heading to a local bar to watch the Brazil World Cup match between England versus Italy with his friends. Carlo Lizzi, 31, had been charged with the triple slayings. He confessed to police that he stabbed his family and then joined his friends to watch the football game on Saturday night after throwing the knife in a drain. At the bar, the man did not show any sign that he had just taken out his family, but was reportedly moved by the goals of Marchisio and Bellotelli, according to his friend. After confessing to the crime, Lizzi told police he wants the maximum sentence, which in Italy is life in prison. The motive behind the triple homicide is still unclear. Unconfirmed reports say that the man had attempted to make advances on a colleague, but was firmly rejected.